Hello, my name is Vanessa Brousseau, and I live in the Niagara Falls region in Ontario, Canada. And I'm here today to talk to you about my missing sister who has been missing for over 18 years. I am Inuit and Ojibwe. I come from Sanikiluit, Nunavut, and my father comes from Matagami First Nation in Ontario. My sister went missing December 14th, 2003. She went missing from a house party, leaving a house party, having an argument with her common law. That was the last time anyone seen her. Anything I know after that is information either that was provided by the police or by the common law. He said that when they got home, he went to bed and woke up and she was gone. My sister had 2 children at the time of her disappearance. They were 5 months old and 2 years old. He didn't go pick up the children for about 12 hours after waking up. We didn't know my sister was missing. This was 2003. There was no Facebook. There were cell phones, but my sister didn't have one. And there was no, I guess, need to always be constantly updating each other how we live in the world today. There was a little more freedom. I tried to go to my sister's house. I tried calling the 15th, the next day. I left several messages. Nobody answered. The next day, on the 16th, I went to her apartment, and the stroller was in the driveway, in the porch. The driveway there was no footsteps in the driveway because it was snow. There was snow on the ground. The plants were in the window. Nobody was around. And I kept going back because I had Christmas presents to leave for her and the kids. And I kept going back. My sister and I were very close. We talked often. And this is the hardest part, is that I wish I would have knew she was missing. I had no signs. Christmas Day came and she didn't call me, and I was really upset, and I was really mad and disappointed and hurt. How could she not call me on Christmas? Then the hurt turned into anger. So Boxing Day came and I called her landlord. And I asked the landlord, "Did you see my sister? I haven't heard from my sister. Have you seen her?" And he said, "No, I haven't seen any of them. Nobody's been here." So I just assumed, my sister's a couple years younger than I am, and I was only 25 at the time, or 24. So she was only 22. I just assumed she was being selfish and out with his family, because he had family that lived out of town in Sudbury. So that's where I thought she was. I thought because she did speak of going there for Christmas. So I thought that's where she was. My mom and I went to play bingo on New Year's Eve. And while we were at the bingo hall, the common law sister, the one who was babysitting my nephews when my sister went missing, came up to us at the bingo hall and said, "Did you hear about Pam?" And me and my mom were confused, and we said, "No, what about Pam?" And she said she left her common law. We said, "Well, where's the kids?" She said that he had the kids. Right then and there, me and my mother knew there's no way she would leave those kids. There's no way. So my mother and I went to the police station immediately to report my sister missing. The police shrugged us off and told us, it's New Year's Eve. She's probably out drinking. She'll be back in a few days. as me and my mother stood there. We left and we never depended on the police. We made our own posters, we fundraised, we did our own searching, we held vigils. It was about 2 or 3 months before the Timmins police got back to us. And at that time, they called us to come into the office. We came into the office and they asked us to look at the monitor that they had, the computer monitor. They had a picture of my sister nude on the screen. And they said, we believe she's a prostitute in Hamilton. We were disgusted. We couldn't believe, one, that you would show us the pictures, you know, two, that you would accuse that. So we asked, where did you get that information? Why would you think that? The common law gave that lead. So they believed the common law because it was easier and they just didn't care. I think it was about 5 or 6 months after my sister was missing, the Timmins police handed over the case to the Ontario Provincial Police. And they told us that it was handed over to the provincial police because they had more resources so that they could actually do searches. That was their excuse of not doing anything. So the OPP took it over. And I think it was maybe 9 or 10 months, they finally took his truck, the common law's truck, for forensic. They did a few searches, you know, that they thought that they could look into. I don't know how they came up with the searches. The searches that they've done was they did mine shafts, because there's a lot of mines where my sister lives, a lot of old mines. So they had cameras brought down the shafts to check. They did places where he worked. He was a tree planter at one time, so they thought he knew the land, so they searched those areas. They searched one body of water where his uncle camped. They thought, because my sister was there before, that that's somewhere he might have brought her back there. And they also searched the local dump. And they made that a fiasco all over the press, you know, because Indigenous women are garbage. They're worth nothing. So you throw them at the dump. That's exactly what they tried to do. They did those searches, and about, I'd say, not even 6 months later, the officer that was in charge of my sister's case at the Ontario Provincial Police was charged with, I believe, manslaughter and arson, because she tried to drug her daughter-in-law, put her in a closet and burn it on fire to kill her, because her daughter-in-law was threatening to take the children, her grandchildren, out of town. And this is all public knowledge. This is all open. I haven't heard from the police since then. And I think that was 2012. I did have one meeting with the police in 2017, I believe, maybe 2016, 2017, where I got to sit down, and that was right before the national inquiry was coming out. And I got to sit down with the OPP, the Timmins police, a lawyer, a doctor. My husband was there to confront these officers about what was happening with my sister's case. They gave me a little timeline. It looked like someone from grade 8 printed it out of what they did. They denied ever telling me my sister was a prostitute. They denied showing me nude pictures of my sister. And they told me that they were going to start, making billboards and start making documentaries about my sister to create awareness, to show that they care and they want to do something. I never heard from them again. They never did any of that. Instead, if you type in Timmins Police MMIWG2S, you'll see how much they like to fake that they support and that they honor on May 5th, but yet they don't say my sister's name, the one person that's missing. And it's really disgusting, because how do you make change when they don't want to make change? It's obvious. I've tried everything to make change with them. So best way to do it is human rights. So I filed a human rights complaint against them, and not just for my sister, but for everything that the Timmins police have done to my family from the time I was 2 years old. I'm also a survivor. And I have nothing to lose. That's why I do what I do. I've already lost everything. And to see families continually losing their daughters and aunts day after day, and nobody cares and nobody does nothing, that's why I use my voice. That's why I push my pain down and I show my face. Because somebody needs to care. Somebody needs to make this stop. It's not rocket science. The National Inquiry has told us that there's 231 calls for justice to enforce. And they're really simple things Canada could do, but nobody cares. Instead, we just let the police continue to do what they do. There's no accountability from them. And it's police all over Canada. But until it happens to a white family, they don't care. And so the best way to get people to care is to show, what it feels like to go through this living nightmare of not knowing where your loved one is, because that's what it is. Every day I wake up, every single day, I think about my sister, and that's not healthy. I know it's not healthy. I don't think about my other loved ones that I've lost, and put to rest. But I think about my sister every single day. I think about her kids. I think about the lack of support for her kids and all the other kids of the missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit. And then we wonder why our world is the way it is today. There's a lot that we could do, as Canadians. Spread awareness, keep your eyes open, help Indigenous women. We're at the bottom of the barrel. Help us, every one of us. I miss my sister a lot. Every day I feel robbed. Every day I wonder, is today someone going to find her? Is it going to be today? I worry about her children, the lack of resources, like I mentioned. They're suffering. They have been suffering. They're part of the child welfare system. They were a part of the child welfare system. And that's another system I tried fighting, and that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I'm just very thankful, to be able to stand here and speak, because my mother wasn't strong enough. And I can't blame her. I can't imagine what she felt like. I'm thankful that people are starting to listen, because for so long nobody listened. I haven't been doing this just this year. I got newspaper articles going back 18 years from the time my sister went missing. I only just started getting louder and stronger. But that's because of the people who support me, the people who stand behind me. That's why I could stand here, because I have an army behind me of beautiful sisters. So yeah, that's why I always say enforce the 231 calls for justice, because those 231 calls for justice are so many benefits from them for our children, for our survivors. There couldn't be more harm done. So I don't understand why things aren't being done. I don't know why our Canada flag is flying way up in the sky.
Vanessa, again, I am so sorry that you have to experience that her children experience that. How are you still in contact with them?
Absolutely. I absolutely love my nephews. So I protected my nephews as long as I could. They were raised by mom-in-law. I tried fighting for custody. My mother and I, we didn't win custody because he wasn't charged. The judge said he's not charged with anything. I can't take them from him. But they had a life of abuse and neglect, a life of lies. No matter how many times I told them, no, your mom wouldn't do that to you, they believe other people too, and that's just the narcissist behavior, and I started telling them the truth just a few years ago now. It's only been a few years, because they were still in his care. They're young adults now. They're 18 and 20, so they still have a relationship with him, and I can't judge them for that. They struggle, though. They struggle with mental health. They struggle, the younger one, with some behavioral. But yeah, I'm in contact with them all the time. I don't live in the same city as them right now, but I did live in the same city. I have two sons as well, and my sons went to school with them all through grade school. So I went to all the spring concerts and all the winter stuff. I attended all that stuff as auntie. And not just that, all the profits I make off of my red dress items that I sell, they get it. So I send them the money directly to them, and they know that. Sometimes they feel guilty about it. Sometimes they don't like me talking about them. It's normal teenage stuff, and I try to give them their privacy and their space, but they also need to be supported. And we need to know that they're not supported. And we need to know that what are the effects of the non-support. And that's why it's so important for us to talk about this, because my nephews are 18 and 20, but there's other little kids who are only 5, 6 years old that are going through the same thing as I have, so I don't want to see them as a teenager have no support. So that's why I fight now. But yeah, my nephews are wonderful. I'm so grateful that my sister had kids, because my youngest nephew looks exactly like my sister, exactly. And sometimes their traits come out and I see their little, feisty, that's my sister, attitude, that's my sister. So you get to see that still. And it's a really nice feeling to be able to have that. So I truly love my nephews a lot. And I also respect them a lot for what they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult. It's very complicated. They just see the one side, and imagine having to deal with that's my life. I'm just going to be straight out forward. Imagine having to go pick up your nephews from just to see him and have to face him, knowing
And not being able to do
not be able to
anything.
rap because you want to see your nephews and you want to keep your nephews safe. You know how many times I was scared he was going to hurt them? And I mean, he did hurt them, but I mean, lots of times. And that's a horrible experience. So, and you're trying to protect them. And at the same time, when you're protecting them, you're protecting him, and it's really gross feeling to live through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the full circle of violence.
Yep.
There's so much guilt in it.
Yeah.
Anger and shame.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a healthy place to be in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you hope
I want to
from this podcast, from you telling your story to the world, because this is not the first time that you address people and that you share your story. What do you wish for the future?
I want first of all, I want someone to leave me a tip. Because I know people know where my sister is either, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but I know that they know where my sister is buried or her remains are. I truly believe that. And there's lots of ways to reach out and tell me tips. But I also want change. I want the world to know that I, as a family member, is putting myself out here for change, and it's not getting reciprocated back. It's not being used. It's not being accepted. And that shows a lot. I'm sitting here willing to work with whoever I need to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying I know all the answers, but at least I could give some perspective. Or other family members, There's so many families out there that don't have a voice that should, and those voices need to be heard too. So I try hard to amplify those voices. But yeah, just be more aware. And it's easy as just telling people you're talking to, talk about the red dress. And it doesn't have to always be devastating and sad,
Mm-hmm.
just create awareness, care about Indigenous women.
Caring is I think caring is the first step, because yeah, exactly like you said, it doesn't have to be all the time dramatic. No, there's an empowerment to it. It's a sign of strength. We are strong, and that needs to be celebrated. We want our sister back home. This is you know, this is what we want. But we do that, and by bringing awareness.
Yeah.
So that's, and you know, if people are touched by those stories and they start caring, well, that's the first step. That's a first step, because you can try to bring awareness, but if someone doesn't want to understand, doesn't want to hear it, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
And that's the other thing too, is people need to realize is don't be scared to say something to us. We know our loved one's missing. It's not like you're going to throw me off guard by saying, have you heard anything about your sister? Or, you know, I find so many people are scared to approach me about it. And it's like, it looks ignorant on you when you do that. You know, It looks very ignorant when you don't show that you care. So don't be scared, because I know sometimes people are like, well, it's such a, I don't want to make them cry. Well, the point is just to show you care, you know, just say, you know, is there, how are you, or anything like that. I find that, and not just with me, with all family members, you know, because that's another thing people need to know is that I am not, I'm one family member, and there's thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit, you know? So make sure you share your love.
I like that. I like that. So this is the message for our viewers.
Yeah.
Care, share the love. Be aware of what's going on. Ask questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Vanessa, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I do wish that we live in a world where this kind of violence doesn't exist. And I wish that we would live in a world where people care, and that they would have a sense of protection, of security among Indigenous people. One day.
We won't stop, that's for sure.
Oh, no, we won't. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for sharing your story. And to all of our viewers, you can find information to contact Vanessa in the bio. Somebody out there knows something, don't be afraid and reach out. Let's put a stop to that violence, and let's just build a better world together. Apnu Maltas.
Thank you so much, Anne, for having me. I'm so thankful and grateful for being here. You know, the connection too, I'm looking forward to keeping that connection with you and building stronger sister bonds.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you, Vanessa.